Well, good morning, and welcome to the 31st Annual Hamvention Youth Forum. That's 3-1, the 31st. Of all the conventions, Hamfest, symposiums, forums, and school settings where I showcase young hams, this is the crown jewel of all those venues. And there are many factors and ingredients that go into making this youth forum be the very special event that it is. First, there is DARA. These are our hosts, the Dayton Amateur Radio Association, with their consistent and generous support through all 31 years to provide the personnel behind the scenes that is needed and is one of the best to best feature and accommodate all the youngsters here. And believe me, there's plenty behind the scenes that goes on to put this forum together. So we would like to thank them publicly. Secondly, all the volunteers who work so hard at the forum, my good friend Bob, who isn't with us right now, but Kevin, and all those people in the back with the green shirts are from a special radio group in Warren County, New Jersey, and they are the ones who are distributing the prize tickets in the back, and they have coached and brought many young presenters, including today, to the youth forum to be presenters. RCA, all the volunteers that you see over here wearing the yellow ribbon necklaces that say Carol's Monitor on it, they are here to make sure, because they are in charge of everything that needs tending to at the forum, that all goes smoothly. And as well, RCA has donated many of the prizes, as you'll see when we go along. The Lance Cruise Amateur Radio Club, besides donating prizes and donating the printed wonderful prize tickets that you see every year, they also give us my prize manager for 28 years, Ralph, and his new assistant now, John, N8, NXW. But there are two main ingredients that are what makes this be a really special experience. One, the young presenters themselves. It's been my privilege to get to know and to showcase our talented young hams who prepare and then come before us to share their accomplishments and aspirations. The other most important ingredient at this forum is you, the audience. For the past, 30 youth forums, the parents, families, friends, clubs, and supportive hams who come to be part of this forum have earned the title, my loved audience, from me and from my young speakers as well. When I get up to stand before so many audiences in the course of a year, nothing ever matches the positive energy that we all feel from you up here at the podium. And for that, you have my personal appreciation. Okay, and now to publicly acknowledge our sponsors. You can see at the podium, these are all the people who make the Youth Forum possible and enrich it by being donors and sponsors of what we do. ICOM, do we have any of the ICOM people? Just, okay. So many thanks to Ray Nova and his staff for 28 years of supporting our young presenters. They are the ones who make up the RCA jackets that are personalized for each one of the presenters. And this year, they are getting an ID51A HT radio. Each one of the presenters will be getting that. And also, for you adults, my way of showing appreciation to the adults, ICOM has donated an ICOM 7200 HF rig, and that will be a separate drawing just for the adults. ICOM has always been, from day one, a big supporter of what we do here. RCA, responsible for me being here. Our booth is 1811 in Building 1, and there's a special drawing for an ICOM 7300 radio that's coming out of that booth, so you might want to stop by there and see what that's all about. Always supportive of my youth activities programs, and we are the ones who distribute the $100 stipend check to each of the young presenters who will be up here via one of our members. That's a separate donation you'll hear about. And all the volunteers with the yellow ribbon necklaces that are Carol's monitors, and they will make sure that each of the young presenters gets the RCA Young Achievers certificate as well. Feedback over the years from parents and from the kids, that certificate labeling you an RCA Young Achiever means a lot on a college application and on job applications. It's something that you have, once we give that to you, that is to be used to your advantage. Kenwood Radio has donated to this forum a TH7400 HT dual band radio, which we don't have here. They had a shipping problem, but whoever the winner is, you'll give me your address, I will forward it to Kenwood, and Monday morning we've been promised it will get shipped directly to whoever wins that. That's a really nice HT radio. MFJ will be giving matching mobile antennas for the HTs, along with chest harness pouches for the presenters. Heil Sound is donating a new product of theirs, a BM17 earphone. From Charles Kermis, who you may have seen walking around taking all the pictures. He is the owner and founder of Kermis Associate, the group of companies. He is a fellow RCA member who for the past 5 years has donated the $100 stipends that each of our young speakers will get today, so that doesn't have to come out of my youth activities budget. He is also donating 10 code keys for door prizes. If you were here last year, those are the little code keys that I used to use when I taught this. And Charles went to China to commemorate the 30th anniversary last year and had 1,000 of them manufactured. And we've been giving them, once you make a donation to RCA Youth Activity, thank you, Ralph. Here's what it looks like. This was the code key that I used to use. Thank you.
Here's what it sounds like.
Okay, it's a code practice oscillator that I used to use in my classroom, and anyone who makes a donation to RCA Youth Activities, we give you one of those. And we're giving them as door prizes, thanks to Charles. There'll be 10 of those. And as well, Charles is donating matching microphones for the ICOM radio that the presenters will be getting. We thank you, Charles, always. Lance Cruz Amateur Radio Club, for the past 28 years, via Ralph, Irish, they have generously printed the prize tickets, organized the prize table, and donated door prizes through MFJ for the kids. We also have John, NXW, who is here to assist with Ralph. The gift cards for door prizes will be from MFJ. We have 3 adults and 8 youth gift cards that will be given, $50 and $100 denominations. We have a lot of those to give out. Okay, thanks also to Ken Oki, who I just thought I saw. Okay, Ken Oki is the president of QCWA, who has always been a staunch supporter of youth activities. I am a director and chair of the youth activities for QCWA as well. And I am proud to say they donate every year $100 to support the Young Ham Lends a Hand contest, which I will be announcing the winner of shortly. We thank you. ARRL has donated 10 each $50 gift certificates that you can redeem at the booth, at the ARRL booth. DX Engineering, Tim Duffy, who is also the president of RCA, has donated 10 $100 gift certificates that you can then redeem at the DX Engineering booth. DLARC, the Delaware Lehigh Valley Club, makes a donation every year to help sponsor the Young Ham Lends a Hand contest. Amateur call sign, Pete, are you here? Okay, he was the late in traffic, but okay. Pete Veronis is a dear friend of mine and owns Amateur Call Sign. He's an excellent historian. If you ever need to look up somebody from the past or expired licenses, he would be the one that you would want to speak with. And he is a personal sponsor of the Youth Forum as well. AMSECT has donated books to help young people get started, and they will be in each of the presenters' book backpacks that we have here. So I think we should all support these groups and manufacturers who through the years have always supported our young presenters. So as you're walking through the convention, make sure you stop by the booth and maybe just say thank you for all the years of donating that most of these groups and companies have done. Okay, now, 6 years ago, Evan Rolick, K9 SQG, and I began a contest called the Young Ham Lends a Hand contest. And we asked hams to recommend and nominate a licensed young ham, 18 years or younger, that's my demographic, who exemplifies one of amateur radio's basic tenets of service. Well, I am here to tell you that we began this 1 year just to see how it would go. This year, it has to make you smile when I tell you we got more nominations this year than all the previous 5 years totaled. And that's got to make all of us feel good because every single one of those nominees was a winner. There is so much wonderful stuff that our young people are doing out there, and I don't think they get enough publicity, credit, or anything else for it. And so that's why we're going to continue doing this contest as long as you keep sending me nominations through the year. There's no formal form or application. You or somebody else just nominates the person with your own length of what you think is appropriate explanation of why that person deserves to get the award. And my committee and I had a really hard time with it this year picking a winner, but we did get a winner. Any young ham who participates in volunteerism for community events, it could be helping with senior citizens, military personnel, school events, recruitment and or training of other young people, or any other valid give back project, they are eligible for consideration for this award. And the winner gets announced every year at the Dayton Youth Forum and receives a $100 check that will be mailed to them if they're not here. And so I am going to announce who the winner is. This year's 2018 winner of the Young Ham Lends a Hand contest is Wyatt Law, AI6V. He is 18 years old and is a senior at McBride High School in Long Beach, California. Devin Day, KF6KEE, is the co-advisor of the McBride High School Amateur Radio Communications Club, and she says, with the 10 pages that she submitted for his resume, when a volunteer is needed for an amateur radio event, the local adult radio clubs call on Wyatt because he is mature, dependable, knowledgeable, and he is a wonderful problem solver. And that was followed by 10 pages worth of pictures and endorsements and all kinds of good stuff featuring him doing all these wonderful different things. So he's this year's winner. As of tomorrow, you can start submitting anybody that you think would be worthy of getting this award. And we're going to continue this contest as long as you keep sending me these wonderful resumes. Okay, now I promised Neil, who was waiting to remind me, he's got a really good announcement for you that he promises will be brief. And again, anything that we announce up here is for the benefit of what we think will benefit young people. Neil?
Just real quickly, I want to welcome you from the ERIS Education Committee that I'm on. And if you have a school group or a youth group that would be interested in talking to an astronaut on the space station, there is a way to do that. There is an application process. I promise it's not a grueling one, but there is an application process to kind of make sure that things are the way they need to be. So please stop by the ERIS booth over in Building 1 and ask about that. We've had some different people there all day, but they can fill you in on that. So we'd love to have some applications, and we are looking for schools to apply. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Neil.
Shot with both of you.
What else?
What you just interviewed me on.
Oh, yes. I'm the host of Ham Talk Live, and each year we bring Carol on to talk about the forum, and this year we had one of the speakers give a little preview. So if you get a chance next year, you can tune in and listen to a little preview of the youth forum.
Okay, thank you, Neil. I know this man. I'm not going to go back to the mic. I know him since you were, what, 6?
5.
Excuse me, since he was 5 years old, and he was the world's youngest ham, and I had his QSL card hanging up in my classroom for 30 years as a role model for anyone else who I taught in middle school to say, well, I can't do this, I'm too young. Neil was the role model all those years. Thank you, Neil.
Hold on, Carol. 1, 2, 3, a multiplication. Thank you. Perfect.
Paparazzi. Okay, and one more announcement for you. Sam Rose is a former young presenter here at the Youth Forum, and he has asked me to make this apropos announcement for you. This is about the ARRL College Radio Initiative. He says for me to tell you, most of our forum young attendees here are in middle school or high school, but they will be going to college in a few years. And collegiate amateur radio clubs offer many opportunities for those going to college soon. So he is inviting you to visit the Collegiate Radio Initiative booth at ARRL to learn more about it. Just ask for Sam and he will be there to give you a lot of really good suggestions. Okay, that's it for announcements. Okay, I make a promise to you that if you don't actually say out loud, wow, after our last speaker wraps it up, I promise you, you will be thinking it. We have a very impressive group of 8 young speakers here today. And I know I can count on you again as my love audience to just send out those positive vibes of support. We're dealing with young people who don't necessarily have public speaking experience, and they put in a lot of hard work, I assure you, during the course of the year, getting ready for this forum. And they have to deal with my nagging, coaching, all through the year, getting them prepared for this. It's a fabulous opportunity to whenever a young presenter gets to be featured in front of all of you. The networking has been incredible, with follow-up stories of scientists who had friends sitting in the audience, apropos of a topic one of them gave on fractal antenna technology. And the friend who's still sitting here all these years supporting us contacted the scientist to tell him about that. And he and I were invited to go to visit the scientist, and he kind of took him under his wing, and that would be Dr. Chip Cohen, who in fact is getting a major award tonight from the Dayton Amateur Radio Association. The point is, where does an average young person get the opportunities that many of them have been afforded just by being a presenter up here? So it's a wonderful thing that you do show your support for them, and it's what I like to refer to as the ham radio ripple effect, because you never know what's going to happen or where it's going to go, but I will assure you it's always good things. Okay, our first speaker today, I have to share this with you first, is Sujay Ojha, KK6SET. And Sujay, you can come up and start getting yourself ready while I share this with our audience. Sujay has been to several of my presentations at Pacificon in California. At the last one that he gave a presentation at my youth forum, at the end, I invited him to be a guest presenter here. And his dad came up with him, and I invited him to come and be here today, at which point, not to embarrass you, but I'm going to quote what he said to me after I invited him to come here. The Dayton Youth Forum, that is the Super Bowl of ham radio. Okay, and that's how we feel about it as well. Okay, as I said, I met him when he was one of my youth forum speakers at Pacificon. Sujay is 11 years old, in the 6th grade at Bookser Middle School in Santa Clara, California. He is licensed as a technician since he was 8 years old. He is a first-degree black belt and is working on his 2nd degree. He is a 2nd-class scout in the Boy Scouts. He speaks English and Nepali and is an avid reader. In addition, he plays the electric guitar. And his topic is going to be schools, scouts, and service. Sujay, the floor is yours.
Hello everybody, my name is Sujay Ojha, and I'm going to be presenting my slideshow, School Scouts and Service, My Adventures in Amateur Radio. My call sign is KK6SET. So, beginning of the story, I wanted to learn how to hunt, but my father said I couldn't get a hunting license without first getting my amateur radio license. And I was thinking, you know how parents go, where they always have those windy roads saying, if you want to do this, if you want to get this, you have to do that. So that's what I was thinking in my head. So why did I want a license? Why would an 8-year-old boy want a license? I got my license when I was 8 years old, by the way. I wanted to hunt. My friends already had their licenses, so I wanted to talk to them on my own without having to be a third-party transmission on my father's call sign. But I discovered ham radio can do so much more and open more doors for you in life. So I did a ham radio school science fair project. So I built 3 antennas, a monopole, dipole, and a Yagi. I tested the range of each antenna from Santa Clara, where I live, to Palo Alto, the N6NFI repeater, which is 14 miles away from where I live. Also, I tried the Mount Diablo repeater, W6CX repeater, and that's more than 55 miles away from where I live. And I have the dipole and the Yagi here, so you guys can see that after my presentation. So this is a picture of me physically building a Yagi antenna. You can see me hammering down a piece of the PVC pipe. This is a picture of me testing my antennas with a 5-watt handy-talkie, and I'm testing my Yagi and my dipole right now. So this is me taking data what my signal strength is, and if I could talk to anyone on the repeater, or if I could hit the repeater at all. As you can see, the work paid off, and I received a blue ribbon at the school district poster presentation. That blue ribbon is the highest you can get, by the way. So, a little bit of background about myself. I am a Boy Scout, 2nd class, and there's a function called Jamboree on the Air. Short is JOTA. So, scouts from all over the world talk on the air. This is the biggest scouting event in the world, and there's 1.3 million scouts that participate. So this function takes place on the 3rd weekend in October. So as you can see, these are some photos from jotajoti.info, and you can see the operators for each station influencing the people around them about what ham radio can do and how it can help them in your life. So some activities I helped with in Jota. I helped set up all the stations, the HF station and the D-Star station. I worked as the operating station on my D-Star radio, so I owned the D-Star. I helped all scouts make contact with scouts in New Zealand, Germany, Pakistan, South Korea, and India. So these are some photos from the Jota 2016 that I was in San Jose, California. I'm the operating station and I'm eating pizza. And as you can see, there's someone on the radio there, and these are all my friends, by the way. I think he was talking to a scout from Germany, and there was also a phonetic alphabet poster in the back, so if he forgot what my call sign was in phonetic alphabet, he could just look back there and he could find what it was. So you guys might be wondering, how did a 10-year-old boy help with service? Well, I'm a visiting station for the city of Santa Clara Aries Races, and I log into the Aries Races weekly nets. I helped to promote amateur radio in Nepal where they had big earthquakes. So Aries Races is an organization, but there's an age limit to be a member, so you have to be 18 or older. So I intend to be a member when I hit the age limit. So this is me with the Santa Clara firefighters at the Art and Wine Festival in 2014. So here's a short story. There was a lady who passed out at the Art and Wine Festival, and my father and I had to call it into net control with our ham radios, by the way. And then net control called in the ambulance, and we had to stay by the lady until the ambulance took her into the car that they brought. So this is me with the Santa Clara firefighters at the Art and Wine Festival, same place, except this is 3 years later, so this is 2017 instead of 2014. So how did I help with earthquakes? So a little bit of background information about my family. Both of my parents were born in Nepal. People work hard for years to prepare for earthquakes. Earthquakes sadly killed a lot of people. I worked with the Cub Scouts to send radios to Nepal. So I was at a function here called Pacific Endeavor Military Exercises on August 2014 in Kathmandu, Nepal. So this is a function where all the military come together and they say, what should we do in a disaster situation? How should we help others? Those are the types of questions that they answer here. And I was describing ham radio to Rear Admiral Nancy A. Norton of the U.S. Navy about how a taller antenna has more range than a shorter antenna. So this is the same place, same time. This is a picture of Lieutenant General Pawan B. Pandey of the Nepal military, and with my father, W6 KTM. You can obviously tell the difference of who is who. So in 2015, 1 year later, the earthquake hits. I was very worried about my grandparents, uncles, aunts, and cousins. Sadly, a lot of people died in this earthquake. So this is the Nepal earthquake 2015 that I was just talking about. As you can see, these are the same temples. You can see before and after, and there's a significant amount of damage that was done by the earthquake that happened. So one picture here I took on August 2014, and another photo, Bernard Armendiu of the Associated Press created. So this is my ancestral neighborhood. So you can see the damage that has been created by the 2015 earthquake that hit Nepal. So damage from the 2015 earthquake in 2017. So I went back to Nepal last year, and then they were still rebuilding from the 2015 earthquake. That was how bad it was. So that kind of gives you an idea of what it was like. So many people thought that the last earthquake was the big one that was supposed to happen. But there's actually an 8.0 Richter scale earthquake that's overdue in Kathmandu. And that we're expecting that any moment now, because we don't know, because it's overdue. So this is my Cub Scout pack, pack 32, when I used to be a Cub Scout. We donated radios to Nepal. So everyone in the uniform is in Cub Scouts. The person in the corner with a badge, he's a Santa Clara fire chief of the fire department. So as you can see, people use the radios that we donated, as you can see in the picture here. You can talk to Kathmandu with Echolink and IRLP. So all in all, what I think is amateur radio is really fun. You can use it however you want, as long as you don't abuse the privilege. I have used it for school scouts and service. Thank you.
That was great, thank you. This is such a young person getting involved. We can only imagine what we're going to be hearing from him through the years. That's terrific, Sanjay. Okay, our next speaker is Matthew Spiker, KE8 Foxtrot Golf Bravo, and he is 16 years old. Matthew is a high school sophomore from Shepherdstown, West Virginia, with a hobby of computer science and programming. He has a general class license and is a member of the Opequon Radio Society and hosts the Eastern Panhandle Traffic Net every Wednesday. He got into amateur radio through software-defined radio. His other hobbies include writing in Python and participating in his scout troop as a star rank scout. And his topic is building an inexpensive APRS tracking device with a Raspberry Pi. So let's welcome Matthew up at the microphone.
Hi, hello everybody, and thanks for coming out to listen to my project, thanks for coming out to listen to my project. The project was to create a fully functional APRS transmitter from scratch with a Raspberry Pi. First, a little bit about myself. I'm Matthew Spiker, KE8 at GV, a high school sophomore, not for long, out in the eastern Panhandle of West Virginia, and I'm a Star Scout, as Carol said. I've been an amateur for about 2 years now. I haven't done a whole lot of my license though, since I don't have a lot of money and don't have an HF grade. But as you said, my hobbies are amateur radio, computer programming, science, and electronics. Yeah, and this stuff. So the goal of this project, if you didn't really figure it out, is to create a working APRS TNC. And the reason I wanted to do this was that I wanted to make it myself from scratch with stuff I had around the house. And I didn't want to buy anything new just for this project because I might not be able to use it for other stuff. And I didn't want to just buy system and have it work, because that's not fun. You just plug it into power and then it works and blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, and I would rather save money that I get for like an HF rig instead, which is probably better use with not a lot of money. So my end criteria for the project was to transmit a packet and receive it on AQRS.fi. And this is, as I said, you can just buy this stuff that will do it for you for like $100. And I didn't want to buy anything. I already had stuff as well that I thought maybe I could try and use this to make the TNC. I wanted to try and use that to create it, and I also wanted to learn more about networking and the packet formats and other things used in the radio. So basically, because I wanted to not use anything new, that limited me to a Raspberry Pi, an audio cable, and a battle fan. But still managed to kind of get it working. And a more larger reason I wanted to do this project was because I actually wanted to get back into Python, because I hadn't done a lot of Python in recent years. I had started out with it a couple of years ago, but then I kind of stopped and did other stuff. So I wanted to get back into Python, and also, why not? You know, just, I have an idea, let's try it. So the general setup for the project was a GPS module that was loaned and then later I bought because it was kind of cool. And that would just read it into the Raspberry Pi. The program I would write on the Raspberry Pi would take the data from the GPS and then convert it into the packet. And then the program would send it to another program called Minimodem, which is a pretty fun little program that just turns it into the actual audio for the radio. And then that just outputs to the radio, and the radio transmits it on the air. So I only need to write the packet. I don't need to like turn it into audio stuff, because that's a bit more complicated. And so it wasn't that hard. But the protocol was a little bit more interesting. I had to read through the surprisingly short AX25 protocol, which is what the AQRS protocol itself runs on. And it's not that complex, not a whole lot of data. And the AQRS data that you send with your location and other info is sent in the information field. And so, because AX25's specification is pretty simple, it just detailed how each thing goes, so I just read it, put it in. Same with the AQRS specification as well. It just read it, details how to format everything correctly. And it was also pretty easy because I could just look on AQRS.fi, go to ball packets and see, oh, here's this packet, here's my packet. All right, this looks kind of similar, or whatever I needed to do. Unfortunately, this didn't use a whole lot of code, so it kind of defeated my large project ideas that I was hoping, but oh well. And then after I create the AQRS packet, then it comes back to AX25 packet, and then to other weirder stuff in the protocol, like bit stuffing and an encoding technique called non-return to zero inverted, or NRZI. And it's kind of odd. Yeah. And here was me working on the code there. Well, I'm taking a picture, but yeah. So bit stuffing basically makes it so that because the packet is converted to audio, each bit is encoded as a 1200 or 2200 hertz audio tone. And so NRZI, which runs on top of that, makes it so it's a sort of Manchester-like encoding, where a 1 is encoded as a change in audio frequency and a 0 is not. The other way around, I think. It's slightly complicated, but I had to account for that when making the packet. And so you can see there, so because the one is no change in audio frequency. Yes, the one bit is no change in audio frequency and a 0 is. And I guess they fear that having a large string of ones makes the receiver desync, is what it said in the protocol spec. So, okay. Plus, if you have the binary string 0, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 0, that is a flag byte in the AX25 specification that marks the start and end of the packet. So you don't want to send that in the middle of your packet. That would be kind of bad. So they insert a 0 bit after every 5 ones. And that's kind of odd, but I get it all going. And it also tripped me up a couple of times. I was output the packet and looked at it and noticed it was 321 bits long instead of an even 320, which would be an even number of bytes, but it's like 56.2 bytes, which is not really possible. And so I'm going through and debugging it, trying to figure out step by step where the problem's inserting this random bit. Of course, it was bit stuffing, and I spent like 10 minutes going through it and saw, oh, it's supposed to do that. Okay. And it was like, oh, good. Glad I remembered that. And somewhere along that way, I also got this kind of funny error here. Error, null. Maybe I should have put null in the details field as well. To give them a little bit of a hint there, I guess. I don't know. But I write it all out, connect everything together, and it's time to test. So I run the program. I need to start GPSD first. So I run GPSD so that I can actually get the data off the GPS. Run it again, and I need to enable Vox on the radio. So, kind of things to remember when you're doing this, but I run it, and it actually transmits some data. I can see on the SDR, it's like not just a straight line. So it did something, that's kind of good. And I looked on APS.fi, and it turns out nothing. I'm honestly not kind of surprised, because I just created this program. Let's cobble this together. And it's also running off 8 watts off my battery, so I'm not surprised it didn't work on there.
Double success.
Okay. And I'll cut it short here. It never ended up being received on APS.fi, the packets that were being generated. So I wouldn't have technically considered the project to work by what my standard of working for the project was. So it didn't technically work, but it did transmit something. So in the future, maybe I might have to do more work on it and try to get it to work. But maybe it could be received by others, because my end goal was APS.fi. Maybe no one's just listening to it and is actually fine. I did get I was lended a working receiver to try and test this, and that could not receive it either. So it wasn't that, unfortunately. GPSs are really, really fun toys to play with. Mine had like errors at times, and it would say I was 300 feet in the air, and the range was like 50 meters, and that was fun. At one point it said I could be going from anywhere between 0 and 180 kilometers an hour. Wow. And I also did this project as a science fair project at school. At the school level, there weren't a whole lot of projects, so I won at the school level and went on to county fair, which I the other school in the county didn't actually send any projects, so I won there as well.
I like that.
Kind of convenient.
Keep on
To be
doing that.
nice. Thanks, Washington. But I also got invited to a company tour from someone who worked at Hamvention. So Hamvention is a company that, if you don't know, gives a satellite phone service. Basically, you have your phone and the satellites, and you can talk on landlines with it. And it's kind of cool, and I got a tour of that. So then we went on to the regional fair, and there was actually a competition. And I won first place there as well, and also got nominated for a few awards as well, and they came with a little bit of money as well. So that's kind of good. And then I went on to the state fair, and there I entered my project in computer science. Did not actually win in computer science, won second place in engineering instead. Turns out it was also a more competitive field, so I'm pretty happy with that. Overall, it didn't technically work by my standards, but I did learn code calls are hard. They're hard and fidgety and complex. And more so, it never has to be perfect. I did not technically have my project work by my standards, but it still did something. I still presented it, won a few awards. So that's pretty good. As for my Python skill, as I said earlier, it was the smallest kind of project, so it didn't do a whole lot, but I did learn list comprehensions are awesome, if you know what those are. They're pretty fun. TLDR, I wanted to try this project, see how it went out. That's what happened. Thank you.
I have to know that you're as impressed as each of these young presenters comes up as I, 31 years of doing this, continue to do. Now, there is one person before the next speaker gets called up that I would like to have, he has an important message to give out, and I know his time is limited, and that's Dave Prestel.
I'm here.
Oh, okay.
The time's not limited, I move slowly.
That's okay, slow and steady. Dave Prestel is the head of the FAR Foundation, the Foundation for Amateur Radio. So parents, take note. This is the person you want to get to know, and he makes himself totally available to all the events that I do, and this is valuable information that he can give you. So I never interrupt the train of my speakers, but for you, I'm doing it this time. Okay, Dave Prestel.
Okay. Good morning.
Morning.
Oh, they're all still awake. Good. Great speakers, fabulous speakers. How many of you are about to enter college? How many of you have kids or grandkids who are about to enter college? How many of you have some use for money? For college. The Foundation for Amateur Radio this year will award 54 scholarships worth a little over $95,000. Scholarships are sponsored by private individuals, by corporations. The YLRL is giving us 3 scholarships this year. The QCWA is giving us 22 scholarships, and those aren't a buck a piece either. We're not paying anybody's tuition, but we're providing expense money, your money, I suppose, important money to have to hand. So how do you get to this? You go to our website, You fill out an online application, you click submit. In order to be qualified for one of the QCWA scholarships, you need to get a written recommendation from a QCWA member. We can help you find those folks. They're going to talk to you, get to know you a little bit, provide some information to us. Some scholarships require a major. Some say freshman or sophomore in college. Some have no requirements at all. We will accept full-time students, part-time students, students taking their classes online. You have to be a licensed amateur radio operator. You can be from any country on the planet. You have to be going to an accredited school, and you have to be taking one of their established programs. You don't just go to your community college and do a little hit and miss stuff and say, well, I'm in school. No, you have to be in a program with a goal. We want to know about you. We want to know, how'd you get into ham radio? How active are you? What do you do? College students don't have a lot of free time, and we understand that. But there are summers, maybe you participate in your local radio club, you do public service events, maybe you've helped found the ham radio club on your campus. There are a lot of different ways that you can participate in the hobby. We want to know about your academic career. We are going to ask for a transcript. We want to know what your major is going to be. Why did you pick that major? What are your goals when you get out? Now, it's been quite a while since I got out of college. Not as long as you'd think, because I did go back and get a master's degree. I understand that career aims and so forth change after you graduate, and that's fine. That's fine. We have no age limit on people. We have folks in their 60s who are pursuing a second career, who are applying for scholarships. Interestingly enough, the most common second career for those folks is nursing. But we've got folks in law school, we've got folks in medical school. There is one scholarship that is focused on people pursuing medical education. So there are a lot of opportunities. We have a website, www.farweb.org. I have slides, but Carol told me she didn't want me to talk all day. You go to the site, you can find a listing of the scholarships, get a feeling for what's out there. You don't apply for a specific scholarship, you simply apply. What we do is we look at each application, determine that it's complete, that it has, we build a list of all of the scholarships for which they're qualified. So if somebody gets a QCWA recommendation, then they qualify for one of those scholarships. Some want residency requirements. Some, very few, have required major fields of study. The whole idea is you fill out an application, we decide where you fit in. We have 8 people on the committee. They all review every scholarship and score them. Scoring's on a scale of 1 to 5, but each person decides how to get what those numbers mean. When we get all the numbers turned in, we bring them to a common mean, and then we look at the spread, and when we find an outlier, then we say, did you see something we didn't see, or did you not see something we saw? Try to get the scores pulled in, we get them ranked, and then we go out and we begin making awards. You are asked to provide 3 references, a neighborhood reference, an academic reference, and a character reference. We will call those people if you're going to be awarded, and then we proceed from there. I will tell you this. This is 100% 100% a volunteer activity on our part. We do.
Thank you, Dave, and for all you do, we thank you. That certainly is somebody you want to keep in your notes as a reference. That's Dave Prestel from the FAR Foundation. Okay, our next speaker is Seamus Bonte, KE8GTT from Columbus, Ohio. He is 13 years old, and I met Seamus at the Great Lakes HamCon convention last October in Michigan. He was a presenter at my youth forum there. He plays sports, likes wrestling, football, and basketball. He also plays the bagpipes and has a YouTube channel on games and gaming. He goes to meetings with his dad at the Maxtown Mesh Society. We wanted to give you a little background on, at their tender young ages, the background that some of these youngsters have and their other interests. It's not just solely with the radio, which I find extremely interesting. Seamus is 13 years old, and he will be speaking about mesh networking for emergency communications. Seamus?
Screen up there.
All right, there we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome. My name is Seamus Bonte, or KE8GTT. I'm 13 years old. I'm from...
Close to the mic.
Pardon?
Closer to the mic.
Oh, okay. I'm 13 years old. I am from Westerville, Ohio. It's just right outside of Columbus, Ohio. I play lots of sports like football, wrestling, basketball, lacrosse, and I also play the bagpipes. So my topic for today is going to be mesh networking and emergency communications. So whenever we are going to be talking about emergency communications, we will be talking about OXCOM. OXCOM is auxiliary radio service to support public safety and disaster response personnel. In OXCOM, it is important to stay under the code of NIMS and ICS. NIMS stands for National Incident Management System, and ICS stands for Incident Command System. And NIMS works from small events from like parades to something as large as a natural disaster. OXCOM is formerly known as MCOM, and in ICS they have a commander, and it's called the Incident Commander, and he or she is going to be connecting to the incident and be working the incident out, and he or she is also going to be connecting to the outside and saying, hey, we need more supplies, or just telling the general public what's going on in that situation. And he or she is at the top, and there's other people beneath them also working out the situation. OXCOM becomes necessary when communications have failed, been severely disrupted, or are insufficient to meet response needs for emergencies, planned events, and etc. How many people have been in like a situation like this? Thank you. Some systems that usually fail are like fax machines. So I don't really know what this is. It's kind of like technology. So internet connections as well. So like people don't have access to the internet, don't know what's going on, like during the news or anything like that. Landlines, so like original phones and stuff. for emergency situations and stuff like that. So mobile phone systems go down, power distribution centers, so people can be out of power for months and weeks, and in the worst case scenario, public safety radios. And that's a picture of from Hurricane Maria down in Puerto Rico, and over 60,000 utility poles went down and still need to be replaced. Where I live, we have a big Irish festival called the Dublin Irish Festival, and the mobile phone systems are carried to capacity. So you can't really get a mobile phone connection out there. And whenever we were talking about mesh networking, we were talking about ARDN. ARDN stands for Amateur Radio Emergency Data Network. It's a high-speed data network built and operated by amateur radio operators. They use 802.11n, which is your standard Wi-Fi network specifications, and a speed of 144 megabits per second. They are Part 97, which means no mobilists, but in saying that, they're all amateur radio operators and use the amateur radio networks. They use off-the-shelf equipment from big distribution centers like Amazon, Micro Center, eBay. They use over-the-air management, so they manage everything over the air, and they don't have to drive to the site to change any settings. And they use advanced routing. And in mesh is always trying to find the best way to get from point A to point B. Mesh is not a point-to-point system, it's a point-to-point-to-point system, and always trying to find the best possible path. So this is what the network agriculture looks like with your incident command center over there. And where I live, we have the Genoa Fire Station, and they have a network backbone there. And from there, it's going to send it 20 miles down to downtown Columbus, and they have, on the state office building, they also have a network backbone. And then from there, it's going to send to Otterbein University, and they have a relay site on top of their football stadium, and that's going to relay it around campus and get picked up by user nodes and go bags. At Otterbein University, in emergency situations, they can grab a go bag. So as we said, they use off-the-shelf equipment, and their main line is the Ubiquiti AirMax M series. Routers, they use air routers, which is just a wireless router. They use a Bullet, which is a little radio with a connector on it. It can be used by many different types of antennas. They use nano beam, which is a small centralized beam or panel. They use a power beam, which is that dish-like structure over there. It's a high gain dish, and a rocket. And what's cool about a rocket, we don't actually have it up here on the board, but what's cool about a rocket is both vertically and horizontally polarized. So as I said, I play lacrosse, and I actually found out this morning that my lacrosse coach is a ham, but he's not here. I didn't know that. So lacrosse is a great analogy for advanced routing and mesh networking. In lacrosse, your goalie isn't going to pick up the ball and try to chuck it all the way down to the other side of where the other goalie is and hope to score a goal. He's going to probably pass to his defenders. The defenders up to his middies, and the middies to the attackman, and then from there, they're going to shoot and hopefully score. And the way to think about this is as your ball, as your little packets of data, and your goalie as your incident command center. And then from there, your goalie's going to set it up to your defenders. Your defenders are going to be your backbones. And then from there up to your middies, and your middies are going to be your relay sites. And then from there to your attackman or your user nodes or go bags. And that's going to be able to get to your situation. So this is what it looks like all connected up. As you see, there's lots of different ways to connect up. I think there's over 3 million different ways that it connects up over there, which is pretty crazy to think about how small that is, but so many different ways it can connect up. So some Oxcom applications that we use are analog service, so analog gateway. So it's just a plain old telephone. Repeater interconnect for like DMR, D-Star, System Fusion, and voice over IP telephone or voice over Ethernet protocol. So database and file sharing, so code plugs, could be programs for your radios, reference documents, could be instruction manuals, and WebDOC is a program that you can get to organize all these files. For email, text, and chat, we have Mesh Chat and Link are both kind of like a variation of texting and emailing over Mesh. So video service, I am in the ACRO Amateur Television group, and they do a link from Mesh to your peer, and we think that they were one of the first group of people who have done that. Do real-time streaming to see what's going on, what's actually going on around, so if it's flooding, if it's raining, if there's wildlife around. Video conferencing for command and control. So now let's take all the applications and let's put it in the shipping container. This is ArcNet. This is a group like Arden, but it's not Arden. So you use uplink radios. There's a local Wi-Fi access point, and that takes the signal and converts it into Wi-Fi. An analog telephone adapter over there on the right side. A local camera to see what's going around the shipping container, if it's snowing, if it's raining, if it's flooding, if there's wildlife around. Off-the-grid solar solution, so they have solar panels and they are staying completely off the grid. And then they also use network switch or power over Ethernet. So for more information on this topic, you can visit the Arden booth or the Hamvention Radio Emergency Guided Network. They're sponsored by the Miami Valley Mesh Alliance, and they're in booth 1001. This is Andre Hansen. He's in the crowd today, K6AH, and he runs the Arden Forum. It's in this room at 2 o'clock. So this is what Oxcom looks like at the EOC, and this is what Oxcom looks like at sea. I'd like to thank everyone for coming out. I'd like to thank my family members for supporting me. ACRO Amateur Television, Maxtown Mesh Society, Delaware Amateur Radio Association in Delaware, Ohio, Amateur Radio Emergency Data Network, Hamvention and Dating Amateur Radio Association, and of course Carl Perry, WB2, MGP, and the Radio Club of America. Again, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out. Please contact me on QRZ if you have any questions or like to see some of the sources. My name is Seamus Bonte or Kilo Echo 8 Golf Tango Tango. So yeah, thank you, and I hope everyone has a great day here at Hamvention.
Great, as always. Terrific. Before I introduce the next speaker, I am going to make the announcement that I promised to do at the beginning, and that is at exactly 10:30, we are not going to be giving out any more of those prize tickets out of respect for everybody who is here. So if you're still sitting and haven't brought it up front, please do so now. We've got fabulous prizes coming up. And I will also take a moment to acknowledge Ken Obi from QCWA. I had announced you before, but you weren't here. This is Ken Obi, who is the president of QCWA, and I am the chairperson of their youth activities as well. And as I said before, Ken, long before I even got on the board at QCWA, was an aficionado of this forum. And he's been very instrumental in helping me to promote youth activities on all different kinds of venues and levels. And they are responsible for sponsoring the Young Ham Lends a Hand contest as well, which we had spoken about. Thank you, Ken. Okay, our next speaker is Mason Matrazzo, KM4, Sierra India, India, SII. He is 15 years old, and Mason recently did one of Neil Rapp's interviews with me on Ham Talk Live, and he did it as kind of a preview of coming attractions of what he would be presenting at the Youth Forum today. He enjoys swimming, hiking, and is interested in geography. He is homeschooled and is a member of the Forsyth Amateur Radio Club, the Yacht Team, another great venue for young hams to get involved with, and the South Texas Remote DX Club. Now, he's got a really interesting topic. which is his DXpedition to Iceland. And he will tell us about how the weather and other factors that he encountered added to his fun adventure. You're really going to enjoy this one. Mason?
Send the green shirts out.
Technical difficulty for one moment.
The green. Yep, that's right. Hi, how are you? All right. Very good.
Okay, there we go. I think we've got things working. Let me see here. All right, sorry about that. Had some technical difficulties here. All right, my name is Mason, KM4SII, and I'm 15 years old, and I've been told that I have a very short amount of time here, so I'm going to try to get a lot of information into a short amount of time here. So, like Harold said, I'm going to be talking about my recent HF activities from Iceland. So here's how the idea came about, why Iceland of all countries. And it's because my grandmother, who lives in Alabama, offered to take me and my mom on a tour group that's from her church that's going to Iceland. And I kind of jokingly asked Mom if she wanted to take me because I didn't expect her to go along with my ideas, but she actually said yes. And we ended up being able to go to Iceland. So of course, me being the nerd that I am, you had to bring some radios along to operate from Iceland, of course. The temptation to operate as DX was just too much to resist. So, as I know, I'm still a general, which I've been working on the extra, but school keeps getting in the way, so we'll get there eventually. So, most countries, you have to be an extra to be able to operate from with the reciprocal agreements. But I did find out that there are some countries that have adopted the ECC recommendation 0506, which does allow you to be able to operate as a general with reduced privileges in certain countries. And you can see the list of them, and you can see what I bolded. One of them, fortunately, was Iceland, so that was good news. But the next problem was, what exactly are those reduced privileges that I'm allowed to operate with? So apparently, finding information about that kind of stuff online, especially for other countries, is very, very difficult. So after using Google Translate extensively to translate a lot of funky Icelandic websites, I finally found the official document of the frequencies there. So I don't know if you can see it in the picture, hopefully you can. I was able to operate on all HF bands, all frequencies, as long as I didn't exceed 100 watts, which is a very good sign. And I wasn't planning on bringing a big amplifier along to lug on the trip, so that was absolutely no difficulties. Alright, so the next thing I had to figure out was what equipment I got to bring. My requirements were, it had to fit in my carry-on, and no QRP, obviously. Life's too short for QRP, although I'm sure some people would probably disagree. Yeah, I'm sure some people disagree with that. But, so the rig and the power supply that I had would have to become my home station as well. I had just recently started HF then, and my current home equipment was all borrowed until I could find the money to buy my home station. So after saving up some money and a little financial help from grandparents, I decided to purchase the Yaesu Fox Tango 450 Delta, which is It's kind of a cross between portable radio and home station, so that ended up working very well. The power supply I got was the Astron SS30M, which is pretty small and lightweight. This is not my shack, although I wish it was, but you can see kind of how small the power supply is in the picture. So the most important part of a radio station, in my opinion, is the antenna. So I had to decide what antenna I wanted to use in Iceland. And my requirements for that were that it had to be able to fit in my carry-on, and since this was a tour group and they kind of are slave drivers, and you've got to go, go, go all the time. You've got very little time that you have to operate, so everything had to be able to put up and get taken down in a very short amount of time. So I decided to go with the Buddy Stick Vertical by Buddy Pull. So right before the trip, I let DX News know that I was going to be going to Iceland right before I went to bed. I wake up the next morning to find that I'm all over the internet now. I'm on the PHAM, there's the threads on QRZ, and the coolest of all, I was actually on the DARA website. Some of you probably saw that last year, which is very, very fascinating. So the activity began in the state of Alabama, which is where my grandmother lives. And I decided that I was going to test the gear out in the field for a little bit. And if you see here, there's a little video, it's a little bit shaky, but you can see where the antenna was in Alabama. So I put up the antenna the first night, and it was picking up a lot of noise. Apparently my grandmother's older house is not ham radio friendly. It picks up a bunch of RFI, and the noise level is quite high. But the next day I moved the antenna, and the noise level went down, and I was able to work quite a few stations successfully. So following that, we went on to Iceland. The very first night we stayed in the capital city of Reykjavik at this hotel. You can't see it in the picture, but up at the very top there is a balcony. And I thought, oh, this is an ideal place for an antenna. And I wandered around the hotel for a while, couldn't figure out how to get up there. So finally went up to the front desk and asked them. They're like, oh, no, you can't go up there and operate. It's only for our gold card members, which I wasn't. So they didn't let me go up there and operate the first night, which was a little bit disappointing, but I was there for a week, so I figured there'd be more opportunities. So after a lot of sightseeing, the next day we went on to Vik, which is a small little town at the very southern tip of Iceland, right on the ocean. And as I'm setting up the antenna, it's a huge snowstorm blows in. I looked up the historical weather, which you can see on the screen here. Sustained wind speeds were 25 miles an hour, gusting to 40 miles an hour. We had snow coming down like crazy. The temperature was 28 degrees, so that would make the wind chill. There's two different methods for finding the wind chill. So it's somewhere between -9 degrees and 10 degrees Fahrenheit, which is quite miserable when you're trying to put antennas up as I quickly found out. And it's hard to tell in the video because it's dark, but you can kind of see what it was looking like outside when I was trying to set up the antennas. And this is before the storm really got started. I was just as it was starting to come down. So I did have success that night. The antenna kept blowing over, and I decided, when I couldn't feel my fingers anymore, it was probably time to go inside. So the next day, we come back, the weather's calmed down. I did get the antenna to stay long enough the night before to find out that, again, serious noise problem. The noise level was about 10 dBs over S9. Couldn't hear anybody, so that was very disappointing. So I had a second plan of action, which was to go to the furthest away building on the hotel complex and get the antenna as far away from everything as I could, which wasn't very far. I only had 25 feet of coax. The noise level was about S8 to S9, slightly lower, but still extremely difficult. Wasn't expecting much. I heard one or two faint signals, so I just decided to pull up down and start calling the CPU and see what happened. Apparently, it worked somewhat, and eventually I got somebody from the UK call back and was able to run kind of a miniature pilot for about 2 hours on a 40-meter phone. Didn't put the whole logo on here because it wouldn't fit, but you can see a couple of the countries that I worked. The furthest QSO was with Russia. You can see second from the bottom, the radio office 6 Alpha Bravo Charlie. And he's down near the Black Sea, which is, I believe, a distance of about 2,500 miles off of that little tiny antenna. So he has a very, very impressive antenna. If you get to look him up on QRZ, that's why he was able to hear me, and I was able to hear him. But it was significantly better than what I thought I was going to be able to do with the voice level antenna. So a couple other things. Naturally, being on the tour group, I got to introduce quite a few people to ham radio. Maybe I'll get some of them interested, I'm not really sure. We had a group from the US that we were with. We had a group from Canada. And my personal favorite was this waiter from the Czech Republic that was working at the hotel we were at. I actually missed dinner when I was operating, so I came in right as they were closing and got a little bit of dinner. If you'd seen me out there operating, you wouldn't know what I was doing with this antenna and sitting out in the cold, freezing to death. I thought it was a little bit strange, naturally. So his English is very, very poor, as you can imagine. And I was spending a good while trying to explain to him what I was doing. At first he thought that it was like a giant cell phone with a big antenna for some reason. But I eventually was able to tell him I was communicating directly with the other places. And interestingly enough, I had actually, I think you can see it over here. Yes, second from the top, is I did talk to a station in his home country, the Czech Republic, which he thought was completely awesome. So we became kind of buddies for the rest of the trip when we were there. The next night we stayed at the same hotel in Vic again. And we had another snowstorm coming through, not nearly as bad as the first night I was trying to set up, but couldn't have the antenna out in the open. I kind of had to shelter it behind the building. So the noise level was extremely high again, and I was only able to manage these couple stations that you can see here. But they were all quite loud, just very hard to hear for the noise. And you can look and see if you can see my estimator here. That's the noise level I was dealing with. Very, very hard to hear people through that. So this is a map here that I've drawn, and I've got little lines that go to all the places that I work. As you can see, if you look down at the bottom right, that's the station in Russia that I worked. Takeoff is very, very good, being right next to the ocean and being at the very southern tip of the country. There's absolutely nothing between us and the rest of Europe, so even with a tiny antenna, you can do a lot of DXing from there. So, I actually don't have the exact number of QSO, I think it was in the 30s. And it's not much, not as, 1,000 that you get on these mega day expeditions, but just for having 2 or 3 hours of free time and Mother Nature not being very nice and all sorts of stuff like that. I was able to make quite a few QSOs, which is I was going into after the first time not expecting to make any, so that was very exciting. I know I'm probably about out of time here, so I'll move along quickly. At the end, I went back to Alabama and made a few more QSOs from there. All the QSOs were uploaded to the various logging programs, LRTW, QRZ, and BloodLog. And I was on amateur radio newsline soon afterwards on one of the news segments. And of course, I was invited to present here at the Hamvention uniform, which is a terrific honor. So one other thing I wanted to add on at the very end is my next operation, which is going to be from the, if anybody here is active on HF, you definitely work this call sign. It's, I believe, the most worked call sign. Papa Japan 2 Tango on the island of Curacao. And I'll be part of the Youth DX adventure, which I believe we've got a couple members that are going along that will be presenting today as well. And I'll be operating from the superstation down there in July, so if anybody's here's got HF equipment, be sure to work us all on as many bands and as many modes as you can. So definitely looking forward to that. It's going to be a fantastic experience. So hopefully I didn't go over too much. Thanks for listening, and 73.
Okay, our next speaker is Bryant Raspol, KG5HVO, and I will share with you that he was in the audience last year at the Youth Forum, and several of the presenters today were in the audience last year and got inspired by the presenters last year and decided that this would be something that they would look to aim to do as well. And I will tell you that is one of the goals of this Youth Forum. That's why we always encourage you to bring young hams that you do know and just have them look at what their peers are involved with, having fun with and experimenting with, because that speaks more to them than one of us getting up here and pontificating about how wonderful the hobby is. So keep that in mind for next year. Bring other youngsters with you because their peers are a very, very big inspiration. And Bryant was one of those people. Before I left Dayton last year, I already had 3 of them signed up for this year. Okay, Bryant is 14 years old, and he enjoys DXing, contesting, antenna building, and CW. He's been active in his local club, participating in Skywarn operations, Mini Makers Fair, Field Day, and major ARRL contests. And he is the section youth coordinator for the Alabama ARRL section. And he is going to speak about the 2017 Dave Coulter Memorial Youth DX Adventure to Costa Rica. And it's another good moment, an opportunity for me to plug this fabulous event that goes on once a year where youngsters are selected, many of them come from the presenters here at the Youth Forum, to go to various locations. It is free for the young person and one parent to go along with them. RCA contributes to this event, as do many others. It is totally free to those who get chosen to go, so keep that in mind as well. And it fills up quickly, so if you have any interest at all, it's the Dave Coulter Memorial Youth DX Adventure. Okay, Bryant, let's welcome Bryant to the microphone.
Good morning. Somewhere out in the ebony, a station is always just tantalizingly out of reach.
Blue screen of death. Purple screen of death. Purple screen. Yeah, it was up for a second. Yes.
There you go.
Very good.
Okay, we got that figured out. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. Somewhere out in the ebony, a station is always just tantalizingly out of reach. The challenge of contacting that station is the purpose of DXing. These words by Ward Silver, N0AX, sum up how DXers feel and what excites me about amateur radio. Today, I want to share with you an amazing learning experience. Last August, I traveled with a team of hams on the Dave Coulter Memorial Youth DX Adventure to Costa Rica. Most everyone here has at least heard of DX or a DXpedition, but first let's get started by defining some terms. What is DX? DX is 2 variables combined, D meaning distance and X meaning unknown. So basically, it could be anything distant from your operating location. The photo shows a team of operators operating from Antarctica. Even the most remote places are no match for hardcore DXers. The more remote, the more enticing. Back in 2010, a group wanted to share the excitement and thrill of operating pile-ups in exotic locations. These hams had years of experience and wisdom to share, and a desire to encourage youth in amateur radio. Thus was born the Dave Coulter Youth DX Adventure, which later became a memorial to co-founder Dave Coulter, KBA OCP, who unfortunately is a silent P. The other co-founders continued on the organization and since then led trips to Curacao, Costa Rica, and Ceiba. As Macy mentioned, the trip scheduled for later this year will be taking an outstanding group of young hams to the island of Curacao. The 2017 Youth DX Adventure Team consisted of 3 youth, their fathers, and 2 team leaders. Chris, KD8YVJ, was a single sideband operator and our digital operator. Austin, WA8CCS, was a single sideband operator. Myself, KG5HDO, was the CW operator and a single sideband operator. We traveled from Atlanta, Georgia to Costa Rica, where we met our host, Byron Swaney, TI5/W88NJR, and his XYL Rose. We then drove 1.5 hours from the airport to our operating location. The operating station is located on top of a 3,200-foot mountain overlooking the Pacific Ocean. As you can see in some of these pictures, it is surrounded by lush, green rainforest, and even on clear days, we could see the Pacific Ocean in the background. Some more pictures there. So, as soon as we arrived, we didn't waste any time getting on the air. Within 1.5 hours of arrival, we were on the air on 20 and 17 meters. We had 2 stations set up. The first one consisted of an ICOM 7300 driving a 500-watt mobile amplifier. And our second station was a ICOM 718 transceiver just at 100 watts. And for logging software, we used N3FJP's amateur contact log. For antennas, we started out using a log periodic Yagi antenna that was about 25 feet off the ground, and a butternut HF vertical that covered all bands. With only 2 radios, we typically rotated in and out of the chair. It worked out well since some of us were night owls and others were early birds. From the get-go, our team leaders were very trusting and let us run the show, but also showed their wisdom and knowledge and gave us operating tips. The DXing was amazing. We worked both sideband and CW and quickly got accustomed to fast-paced operation. When we were not operating, we shared cooking responsibilities, played cards, and explored the area around our QTH. One evening, we dined at a local restaurant. While there, we had the opportunity to tell the owner about ham radio and why we were visiting Costa Rica. He asked all sorts of questions about amateur radio, like how the radio worked, where we would talk to, and what we would say to the people we would talk to. Our answers were very basic. We told him that we transmitted a radio wave that would bounce off a layer of the atmosphere and land in a different part of the world, like Australia or Europe. And then we talked in English and Morse code. After we had finished eating our meals, he asked us to inscribe our names into his restaurant's wall. During our adventure, we built and installed a Hustler vertical that was donated by DX Engineering. This was a very good team building exercise, and we learned about different techniques that were very important to the construction of antennas. In the picture on the left, you can see Chris and Austin working to install the pipe in the ground so that we could hold up the vertical element. And in the top right-hand corner, you can see the 3 youth working to cut the radials for the vertical. And on the bottom, you can see our DX Engineering radial plate. The photo on the left shows the 3 youth working to attach our radials to our DX Engineering radial plate. And on the right, you can see Austin working to install the ground radials to the lush Costa Rican soil. Here's what the finished product looked like. We had We had a DX engineering tilt-over mount, which made maintenance and raising the vertical very easy. In a photo on the right, you can see most of the team trying to raise the vertical element to its full position. And here is what the finished product looks like. It's about 25 feet tall, and it worked phenomenal. It had great SWR across all bands. And the reason I believe the vertical worked so well was because of the ground system that we had installed under the antenna. The biggest challenge on our adventure was the huge thunderstorm that came through our area and nearly sat on top of us for nearly an entire day. For safety reasons, we obviously couldn't operate. This was frustrating to everyone because we knew we had so many people waiting to enter us into their logbooks. Another small issue that arose was some interstation interference because the antennas that we used were so close together and we didn't have any bandpass filters available to us. So after some team discussion, we concluded that we would have to use cross-polarization to our advantage. What that is if one radio was using a vertical type antenna, the other radio would have to use a horizontal type antenna to eliminate most of the interference to each other. We also had some static electricity on our coax. So one of our operators discovered that when he was unplugging the antenna from our antenna switch, it would shock him and vibrate his hand. We tried to troubleshoot this issue, but could not find a cure. So we just had to endure the light electrical shocks and vibrations caused by it. In summary, we made exactly 3,100 QSOs in just 4.5 days of operating. We worked over 70 DXCC entities, all 50 US states, and all continents, just in 4 days. So we already qualified for worked all states and worked all continents. I guess we'll have to go back to Costa Rica and finish up DXCC. A few rare contacts were with A41NN in Oman, YJ8CW in Vanuatu, which is a small island off the coast of Australia, and Mr. Tim Duffy, K3LR, called us when he was operating on vacation in Ontario. That was really cool. When we arrived back at our homes, we had lots of QSL cards waiting on us. Exchanging QSL cards is one of my favorite aspects of amateur radio. Even though there are great tools like Logbook of the World that serve the purpose of QSL cards, they do not have the personal and colorful images that QSL cards do. Once each YDXA member received their cards to send out, we began firing them out across the world. One of the best things about the Youth DX adventure is that it brings together youth from all over who otherwise wouldn't get to meet in person. Over the course of the week, the team forms friendships with each other and the team leaders. Besides DXing, we learned how to communicate and function as a team. I would like to encourage everyone to support the Youth DX adventure. First, please visit booth 2602 in the Tesla Hall and purchase a raffle ticket. Purchase lots of raffle tickets. You may end up winning an ICOM 7300. Second, please visit qsl.net/N6JRL and keep apprised with what's going on with the current YDXA team. And third, when applications are open, spread the word to any youth in your local club and let them know about this amazing opportunity. And finally, when the 2018 team is on the air from PJ2 this July, be sure to work them, spot them, and cheer on the team. And finally, I'd like to call on the current YDXA team members to please stand. And if you have gone on a past Youth DX adventure team, would you please also stand? Congratulations.
I've got some of the DX Expedition raffle tickets with me. If anybody wants to contact me afterwards about they're $5 piece for radio.
there to save you a trip over to the booth. If you're interested, see them please at the end. I have to comment on the beautiful speaking voices that so many of these young people have. When I was when I was teaching Introduction to Amateur Radio to 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, the voice changed between 6th and 8th grade, and so I'm so used to hearing what many thought were YLs on the air that really weren't, as the voices changed, but kudos to all our young speakers today, beautiful speaking voices. Now, this next speaker, this young lady, Violetta Latham, came for ATT, has generated a lot of interest every time I've indicated to people through the year who our speakers were going to be this year. She has a very interesting background, and every time I said what she was going to be speaking about, everybody said, "Ooh, that sounds interesting." You're going to enjoy, first of all, it's a young lady, which we're always pleased to have here. Yes, Violetta is age 13, and she is from Greencastle, Pennsylvania. She lived off the grid and had no electricity for 5 years. Although she had her extra class license, she was never active until her family moved, and then the day they set up the equipment, she started working towards 100 countries goal and got it in 11 months. Violetta has also been chosen to go on the Dave Coulter Youth DX Adventure in July. Her topic is how I do ham radio without internet. Violetta? You get a hug for being a girl.
Hello. Welcome. My name is Violetta Latham. Sorry.
The internet's mad at
There we go. Okay. My slideshow is titled No Internet, No Problem. My name is Violetta Latham. I am 13 years old. I was licensed as a technician at 9 and upgraded to general and extra at age 10. Before I begin my presentation, I have a message for all of you from an acquaintance of mine, Riley Hollingsworth. Hello from him, and you better listen up. You know what he does. He sends out the bad cards. So here's a list of my family. I have 8 licensed hands in my family. The first 2 are my parents. I have 5 sisters and 1 brother. And 1 sister at the bottom who's not licensed yet. Still working on it. So I lived for 5 years in an Amish-type community where we didn't have any internet. We lived off the grid. That's where I got my license. And we eventually moved up to Pennsylvania where we had electricity, cars, cell phones, and unfortunately still no internet, thanks to my dad. This is a family picture we got at the Philadelphia Institute, Franklin Institute, and it was a very interesting science trip. It used to be the home of radio station W3TKQ. My dad, who was younger, used to go there. In recent years, they removed it, and they gave the reason why, as kids no longer found it relevant in today's world. They wanted to teach new technology. I think many kids here today still find it very relevant. So, back in the day, we came to Hamvention, we sit in a forum. The topic was how to integrate computers and internet technology into your station. An acquaintance of mine, Bob Loker, once wrote in one of his books, people used to study maps and propagation charts and find out when the openings are going to be, and then spend hours scouring the bands looking for those last few countries. Well, today, computer technology and internet made it possible. You just sit there, watch the spotting networks, and everything is just one click away. So my dad said he wants me to learn to become a DXer, not a mouse player. My presentation today is on how to integrate internet and technology out of your station, not into it. So this is a picture of my very first ham radio, which is an HT. My dad gave it to me when I passed my license. And thanks to a very good Elmer of mine, he gave me a Pixie kit, which I built, which became my first HF radio, a CW only. Thanks to TN07 Engineering and the North Georgia QRP Club, they gave me the script of a Hendrix portable field radio, which is a 3-band CW only kit. And a quote from TN07 Engineering. We at TN07 Engineering believe kids should be challenged, encouraged, and rewarded for their efforts. Violetta has gone above and beyond, and we are extremely proud of her. My dad helped me build some kits, and he wound the toroid in this, and, well, I had to go rewind them behind his back, just don't tell him that. So for my next station, I wanted a bigger HF station. That doesn't look good. You see that big hole? We need to fill up that hole, so I go to my dad. So, we talked for a while. He gave me the challenge. If you work in 100 countries in 1 year, he will give me an HF radio and fill up that slot in my station. So I started. Here's a picture of me. You cannot see it very good because the lights are not very dim. But it's me working stealth in the dark and my parents think I'm in bed. So, I was not allowed to use any internet, no computers, no DX clusters, no computer logging. Even though I complained a lot that my dad was forcing me to live in the 1970s, I know now that it was good for me. It was a very good learning experience. Some of the ways I learned how to get some of that stuff without the internet, one of them is the Northern California DX Foundation Beacon Project. They have beacons set up all over the world, transmit on a frequency, give their pulse sign at 22 words a minute with 4 tones, one at 100 watts, one at 10 watts, one at 1 watt, and one at 100 milliwatts. So you can tell if there's a strong one coming in from Australia, there's a good opening from Australia. There's a weak one coming in from Russia, there's not a good opening to Russia. So, here's see if I can play it. Can't hear it very well. That's a DX beacon coming in. So, what do? You want to work somebody in Australia, but you can't really work them when they're asleep in bed. You want to know what time it is their time. If you do not have any computers or $1,800 clock, do you come wall clock? I would like to introduce the DX Edge. So, this has 12 slides that you can insert into these, one for each month, as you can see. Each one has a different curve. Above the line is the night, and below the line is the day. So if you line up with your location and the time at your time, you can see all over the world what time it is their time. As the sun and earth rotate, you can see the different curves. Another big thing I had to learn without internet is the cultures of different countries and regions. A lot of the Middle Easterns are Muslims. Their holy day is Friday, so you probably won't raise a lot of people in the Middle East on Friday. Also during the Ramadan month, which started on Tuesday or Wednesday this month. And many people, when they work out in the fields, they go out to the fields in the morning when it's very cool, come back in for lunch whenever it's very hot, stay in for a while, and then go back out, finish the work in the evening when it's cool again. So you have a good chance of working them right in the middle of around lunchtime, our time, or their time. Also, a very nice thing to have is the international calendar, so you can tell what other people observe, and that's very nice. Having no internet, like anything, has advantages and disadvantages. You don't see the spotting networks, but if you don't see them, you do not jump on them right away like everybody else does. If you find a pile-up, then you're too late. You have to be the person to find the DX station. So, What if I need the country though? What if I find a pileup and I can't get through and I need the country? I learned that many DXers do not like pileups. So if I hear a pileup, I locate where the DX is coming from, find a clear frequency, and call CQ. You have a very good chance that somebody from that very country you need will answer your CQ, want to go rag to, and there you have your country without the hassle of the pileup. Unfortunately, many people stay in the pileups, the opening drops, and they miss their contact. Why? Because the people who answer CQs are not spotted, only the ones who are. So, after you've worked a couple contests, have a lot of QSOs, the QSL cards start coming in. I always love getting QSL cards, that's the way I confirm it. The contact is never complete without a QSL card. You need to prove you made a QSO. So, the International Amateur Radio Relay League, QSL Bureau, is a great way to add to your collection fast. You look up on the internet, look up your call sign category manager, and follow the instructions on the website. It will take time, but you have real proof, not just a logbook entry. So, after a long time, 8 hours slaving over the radio when your parents still think you're in bed, and you're pulling tricks to get those last few countries. I don't have time to go into detail of what I did, but I'm now the very proud owner of a very beautiful Yaesu FT950. One of my biggest heroes, Higher Person Maxim, founded the ARRL. He is buried 15 minutes from our place. This is a picture of me at his gravesite. If it wasn't for him and what he did for the amateur radio, I wouldn't be where I am today. Thank you.
Again, I sit here every year and just become more and more impressed with these young speakers. I just think they are fabulous. But that's just me. Our next speaker is Thomas Cholikov, N1SPY. He is 12 years old from Pembroke Pines, Florida. Now, Thomas has spoken at 2 of my youth forums at Hamvention in Orlando, Florida. And the last one that he did in February, I told you to think of as a dress rehearsal for today. He will share with us some electronic projects that are good for young hams. These are all projects that he has done and that have helped him to learn more about the principles of electronics. Thomas is interested in helping young people develop an interest in radio and electronics. He got his extra class license at 11 and does various projects from chasing satellite signals to building antennas. He records his projects in video and shares them with friends. Some of his other interests are mathematics, playing the trombone, video games, and swimming. And as a result of his presentation in Orlando, several people did contact, I'm sure both him and me as well, about some of the projects that he described, teachers who found it useful in classroom settings, as well as grandkids and other young hands who benefited from what he did present. So Thomas, N1SPY.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Thank you so much for taking the time to come and listen to all of our presentations. So today, I'm going to be presenting about electronics projects for young kids. Before I get started, I just wanted to say a few words about myself. I'm 12 years old, and my radio call is November 1 Sierra Papa Yankee, N1SPY, number 1 spy, whatever you want to call it. And I was a licensed operator since 2015.
and I am currently extra class. I love everything from electronics to video games and anything like circuits or anything that glows in the darks, beeps, or glows. So one of the first projects that I did was actually one of the most complex projects that I've ever done, and it was creating a whisper beacon. This whisper beacon was came from a kit, and I had to wind my own toroids and solder everything, which was really hard because I am a lefty. And the project took me over 3 months, but the signal from the beacon was received all over the world. We went all the way from Australia to Europe. And it used less power than a light bulb. Our beacon used 1/4 of a watt, while a light bulb generally uses like 1 watt. And of course, the project was a success. I learned about soldering, using a multimeter, dividing my work into small steps, and a lot of others. And I documented my work with videos, so you can check it out if you want to. Those are just a couple of pictures of me using the multimeter, a picture of the low-pass filter, a picture of the finished beacon, a screen that we attached to the beacon, and a map of the stations that we were able to connect to. One of the next projects that I did was about a rapid ear antenna communication with satellites. While looking through some old junk in the garage, I found a weird kind of TV antenna. It was a rapid ear antenna, so I went up to my dad and asked him what the heck this was. And so after like two hours of explaining, I decided to modify the antenna into a V-dipole. We were able to receive NOAA satellite weather pictures. And then later, I remeasured the antenna to receive SSTV from the International Space Station, which was very interesting. And it was actually a very simple project, and it was fun too. It was also a great time to try and explain to my friends and family, and they were very interested in the project. So here we have a picture of the antenna, and below it, we have a picture that we received, and it is actually about the 20th anniversary of the DARA service. One of the next projects that I did was a Nixie tube clock. At last year's Hamvention, I picked up a circuit board, and a guy said that it belonged to a clock controller. And I did a bit of research, and I found out that this board was actually part of a Nixie tube clock. So I ordered Nixie tubes all the way from Russia, and I loaded the firmware in the clock controller, and I soldered the used Nixie tubes in place. The Nixie tubes are actually really old. They were from the Cold War time, and the circuit board was fairly new. And surprisingly, it lit up, and it looked amazing on top of our old Collins S line. It was one piece of Cold War tech reunited with another. So the top picture is a picture of the Nixie tubes, and below is the Nixie tube clock on top of our Collins radio. One of the next projects that I did was a homemade loop antenna. So during this year's Hamvention, I went and I picked up a variable capacitor. It was about this big, and with some work, I used it to make a magnetic loop antenna. And I learned how antennas resonate and how even QRP radio can put so much power into an antenna and be able to send a signal all the way to Europe. And I learned that you can make projects with just simple garage items. We used a few zip ties, an old T-mop, the stand for the T-mop, a variable capacitor. We used actually some refrigerated copper wire, and we also used a coat hanger. So it was a very simple project used from very simple materials, but of course it worked effectively. And one other thing is why these projects interest me. Of course, I love electronics, and it's just an extremely interesting topic. I love things that click, beep, or glow in the dark. And I love sitting at a table with some hot chocolate or some coffee, soldering iron, and some circuit diagrams. And I learned something new with each project. And the thrill of learning, the thrill of turning an idea into a finished project is just very amazing. And I get that with every project I do. So how do you get others involved? So to get involved, you need to find a nice, exciting projects. There are lots and lots of those. You can use the ones that I've done, or you can find them online. And the book the book on the right is one of the books I used to gain a better understanding of easy electronics, and you can use those to build on them and to make some of the projects that I've done. And many places sell hands-on kits for beginners, and you can also make your own experiments too. So, the summary. Electronics projects are fun to do, they're a great interest, and it's just an amazing topic. You can see more of my projects. That is a Facebook page that goes into more detail about them. Or you can also visit my QRZ page. My call sign is easy to remember, N1SPY. With each new project, I learn something new, and I hope to keep this up for a very long time. And I hope to do many more projects and get my friends involved. Thank you so much for listening, and 73 from Thomas, N1SPY.
As a teacher, I cannot help making evaluations, but the progress that this young man has made since I first met you 2 years ago, when he was at 2 of my different forums, is amazing. So that's certainly something to be said about giving these young people an opportunity to get up here. Just tremendous improvement on your speaking ability. That's just terrific. Now, remember I told you at the beginning that if you don't say out loud, wow, after the last speaker goes, you'll be thinking it. In case you've been wondering what that device is up on the platform there, our last speaker is going to explain to you what that's all about. And that is Tucker Dunham, KD2 JPM. Tucker is 17 and he is a junior at the electronics program at Warren County Technical School and is here with that wonderful group that I spoke to you about before with the green shirts from Warren Technical School, and they have sent me presenters for the last few years that have been here. I have been to that school. It's a phenomenal opportunity, and they have fabulous mentors like Kevin, who's in the back, and my friend Bob. And yesterday at the Instructors Forum, a classmate of Tucker's, Abby Hine, KD2 PUA, who worked with him on this project, gave a little coming attractions introduction at the Instructors Forum yesterday. The two of them worked on this project together. And she gave a summary for the benefit of the teachers who were there yesterday. In an emergency, moving data is key. If it's a list of needed supplies or health and welfare, traffic, communicating lots of data quickly and accurately is necessary. Tucker will demonstrate a plan where small, portable, self-sufficient digipeaters are deployed in strategic places to provide a data communications background. So the title of his presentation is Solar-Powered Digipeaters. Okay, Tucker?
My name is Dr. Dunham, and my project is a data network for emergency communication. My name is Dr. Dunham, KD2 JPM. I got my license when I was a freshman in high school 2 years ago. Currently, I'm a junior in the electronics program at Warren County Technical School. This year, I participated in Skills USA and placed second in the New Jersey State Finals. Skills USA is a national partnership between students, teachers, and industry to create a working workforce for America. Students compete in skill-based competitions regionally and nationally. The reason for my project is to provide a solution for emergency communications. This map of Puerto Rico depicts cell phone outages after Hurricane Maria. Darker colors indicate complete outages. According to the FCC, after the storm, 90.3% of cell sites were inoperable. The situation was so dire that the ARRL and American Red Cross assembled a team of volunteer amateur radio operators who traveled to Puerto Rico to assist in providing communication. In an emergency, passing information is the most important thing. This is where ham radio operators are critical. Here are some examples of the vital information that needs to be passed along to people in emergency services. Typically, hams set up a temporary station in an emergency. Normal setups will work in such extreme situations due to no commercial power and limited supply of fuel. In the universe of communications, Earth-orbiting satellites are self-sustaining after launch by solar panels mounted on its exterior. They are also compact and light. Instead of the typical approach, we need a solution that meets the following requirements. Made with readily available materials, easily manufactured and reproduced, self-sustaining, simple, effective, versatile, portable, and low cost. Our solution is a device that relies on solar energy to make up for the lack of commercial or generated power. It is small enough to be carried by an individual over a distance and can extend the range of communications being passed. We find that in our daily and casual communications, we would rather text people with information rather than dictating them verbally. Texting is more efficient and more accurate. We need to pick a digital mode to work with. The first one that comes to mind is mesh networking, but that comes with its own problems. It faces issues such as path loss due to trees and buildings, and alignment of antennas. VHF packet can be deployed rapidly in less than ideal situations, and has a data rate sufficient for the who, what, and where of emergency communications. But I know what you're thinking. Isn't packet radio an old technology? Isn't 1200 baud slow compared to network speeds today? Maybe, but in an emergency, it's proven to be reliable to work, and high-speed data is necessary. For the Digipeater, we are using a Raspberry Pi with a TNC Pi board that allows packet capability. For power, we are using solar panels that provide energy to the Raspberry Pi and radio, and fully charge the batteries. The antenna is a 2-meter J-pole constructed from 300 ohm twin lead. It's supported in a 1/2-inch PVC pipe. The antenna is comprised of 2 sections that are taken apart for easy storage and transportation. Each of the solar panel mounts is constructed from 3 3D printed parts. There were a total of 36 parts printed just to hold 12 panels. A cylinder makes a good platform for mounting these solar panels. There are 12 panels arranged in 4 groups of 3 to provide 15 volts at 2 amps under ideal conditions, usually much less. The panels mounted around the pipe fold down for transport and are positioned for best illumination when deployed. We tested all the power supply components on the bench to see if our assumptions were correct. The performance of the solar panels was not what we expected. Spec sheets predicted a total of 30 watts of power, but we got just over half that value. To summarize, our solution is a portable, self-sufficient, solar-powered Digipeater. We wanted to use the Raspberry Pi for its ease of access and modification, switching regulators for the sake of efficiency, and 3D printed parts for the ability to be easily recreated. Our final design was compact. All of the electronics fit in a 4-inch PVC pipe. Starting from the bottom, you see 2 6-volt SLA batteries. Above that is the power management circuits for charge regulation. Above that is a Raspberry Pi with a TNC Pi hat, and finally on top is a 2-meter handy-talkie. Here's what the finished project looks like in the deployed and stowed state. Here's a short video that portrays how we see the device deployed.
You gotta put it on the second screen, right?
After we finished, we realized we built an expandable platform that could be used for many things, such as an APRS node, a weather node, and a packet endpoint. With a PL259 connector, we realized we could put a variety of different antennas onto the system. The Raspberry Pi lends itself to an endless expandability of sensors and software. Special thanks to Carol Perry for the opportunity to present, and thanks to all that helped me. Abby for her work on the antenna and the end caps, to Caleb with his help with Raspberry Pi and Linux, John Petrocchi for his guidance in completing the project, Mr. Bob Oppen for his contribution of antenna material and guidance, and especially all members of the 721 MCV. Thank you for your time.
Okay, so if you're not saying it or thinking it, I'm going to say wow to all of these young presenters today. I think they were really fabulous, every single one. Okay, now, again, when I was first given the 3-hour form, I said, oh my God, I better practice tap dancing to keep it going. And inevitably, we run over at the end. Importantly, we had 8 speakers and we got all of them in. I know some of the manufacturers are here who would like to give the presentation themselves. So we're going to try to do this as quickly and efficiently as we can. And then we will have the general prize drawing for all the prizes that we have here. Okay, ICOM, Ray, and here he comes. Again, ICOM has donated so many fabulous gifts. I'm going, in the interest of time, to have all the young presenters come and line up front here. And I'm going to ask Charles and Stan maybe just help get everybody organized over there. But all the young speakers, come over to where the prizes are, because you are about to get bestowed. Okay, Ray? Where's Ray? Did you want to say something, or just say hello? Again, let's support the people who are supporting the young people. And they know that I'm a good friend, and certainly a good friend of this new forum.
After how many years of doing these things?
28. Well, we're doing a 31. You joined us at 28.
So we've enjoyed being part of Carol's projects, as well as being a part of RCA, and we'd love to see the youth and the excitement of doing all these projects. So we give them radios, backpacks, and jackets to help them spread the fun, hoping that somebody would see that RCA badge and see the call sign and ask, hey, what are you doing? What's that? So thank you very much for everything you do, and as well as helping with the de-expedition too.
You're back.
The icon man, 1, 2, 3 cheese. One more.
Okay, so Ray, Charles, and Stan, if you would help distribute to the young presenters. They're getting an ICOM backpack with their name and call sign, with the RCA Young Achiever patch on it as well. And AMSAT books should be packed in those backpacks for them as well. It's going to look like Christmas here very soon. And they're each getting a radio from Okay, now, stay there. Tim. Okay, another person you must have the pleasure of meeting. Tim is not only Tim of DX Engineering, but I have the pleasure of knowing Tim as the president of RCA. Has always been 100% totally supportive of youth activities. Tim?
Carol, thanks very much for everything that you do, and thanks to all the young presenters for bringing this to Daewoo. You don't know how special it is for all of us to see the progress year over year. And at DX Engineering, we're thrilled to be involved. And most of all, the Radio Club of America is a great platform. I hope all of you consider joining the Radio Club and joining the effort to help Carol Perry and her Youth Forum initiative. Thank you, Carol.
Oh, thank you, Tim. Thank you. And we're going to have Tim give out what DX Engineering has donated. Did you want that to be, Tim, that's the general prize giving, right? So we can just pull tickets for that. Okay. So while those kids are getting set, stay there, young presenters. There's plenty more to come for you. But let's do a general drawing now for what Tim has generously donated, which are 10 $100 gift certificates for DX Engineering. So let's do 7 children and 3 adults. Okay, what are we drawing first there, Ralph? Adults?
DX Engineering $100 for adult.
And we got adults first?
Yes.
3 adults, okay?
Dan Rieneman, AC8NP.
Can you hear what he just said? Ah! Okay, another adult.
Lauren Roscoli, KG5TQO.
All right, one of our moms of one of the presenters.
I know you.
Hey, deservedly so. Okay, one more adult.
Ryan Short, KC0BS.
All right, congratulations. Now let's get 7 young winners.
Zachary Robinson, KC3JKL. Edwin Robinson, KC3JKL.
There's always karma at the youth forum.
Grace Lee, KM4TXT. Kelsey something or other, K3LSY.
And these can be redeemed at the DX Engineering booth.
Gracie Tackett, no call. Here.
Ah,
There you go. Congratulations.
fantastic.
Jedediah Wilson, KE8GEB. Adam Grant, no call. CRANDT.
Okay, next year these same no calls will be up here announcing their call letters to us. That's a stipulation for winning that, I forgot to tell you. Before you hand it over to your dad. Was that the 7th?
That's the DX Engineering, yeah.
Oh, okay, great. Tim Duffy, we thank you, and we thank DX Engineering. Thank you. Okay.
Lance Cruz,
Well, we have MFJ here.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so let's, because I want you to know who the manufacturers and these big groups are that support all of our kids. This is Richard from MFJ.
Hey, everybody.
Another one who's been a friend of youth activities, I'm going to say for the full 31 years.
Martin Jew has been your friend for a long time.
Yes, Martin Jew, who is the head of MFJ, and Richard as well.
I've been coming to get hugs from you for about 25 years, yeah.
And he appreciates the hugs, okay.
As do we all.
Okay, so Ralph, this is from Lance Cruz, your club.
We got one stray item from MFJ. He miscounted and brought one extra.
Yes, okay, so MFJ is donating the matching antennas, correctly?
Yeah, we did all for the kids.
Okay.
This is an extra.
Our MFJ donated the matching antennas, but Ralph's club is going to be donating. Okay.
Okay, this is Faith Hannah Lee, AE4FH. She's already going to college. We got 3 gift certificates for adults. Give those away first.
Okay, these are the adult gift certificates.
These are good at MFJ. We're in building 1. These are from the Lance Cruz.
Yes, these are MFJ gift certificates donated by the Lance Cruz Amateur Radio Club.
They're spendable this weekend. Well, of course, you can do it up after this too, but it'd be easier to come down and get what you want right now.
He's asked if you win to come to the MFJ booth to get whatever it is you'd like to redeem, okay?
Building 1, we take up the whole quarter of it. Okay, first one, be a $100 gift certificate for an adult, Mary Weideman, N3RCH.
I really should have told all the parents of the presenters to bring a U-Haul truck with them. What do you see what they're going to be leaving with?
Next is a $50 gift certificate with an MFJ to Margaret Aliesco, not yet licensed.
Okay, we cannot wait to hear what your call letters will be next year at the Youth Farm.
This summer. I'm gonna get it this summer.
Excellent.
Another $50 for an adult is Dave Presnell, W8AJR.
Gift certificate? Yeah, just bring it to the booth and look for Richard. Okay?
Okay, now will be the youth prizes for gift certificates from MFJ. Isaac Johofar Johote, AC3CJ.
All right. You'll go over to the booth and see Richard later.
Brendan D. Dalcanton, not yet licensed.
I'm kind of happy to see not yet licensed here because we can look forward to getting you inspired to get back to us next year.
Aaron Latham, KM4IEJ or LEJ.
Is this a sibling of yours, Violetta? Oh, okay.
Another $100 gift certificate from MFJ. Prihu Raba, KC9ZJX.
All right, this is Drew. Drew, just stand there 1 second. Drew has been to 897, I think, of my youth forum presentations over the years and always does a fantastic job and has a fantastic family background who are so supportive of all his achievements. Good to see you in here, Drew.
Now the $50 gift certificates. Caleb Lee, KD2NUC or NBC. Bonita Latham, KM4CLT.
I think we're going to be hearing a lot more from the Latham family youth forums.
There's somebody who unfortunately doesn't have a last name. Samuel, KT8TX. And last but not least, last $50, Carly Sabella, KE8HSR.
Oh, I did say it. Oh, just so you know, we're saying it again, those are MFJ gift certificates, but it was donated by Ralph's Club, Ralph Irish's club, the Lance Cruise Amateur Radio Club. They've been fabulous donators every year, and they work with Richard at MFJ to supply all the prizes that we give out. Thank you again, Ralph, to your club.
The code thing, so how are they gonna get, the code practice oscillator?
Oh, well, I wanted to make sure you got credit for what you did.
I understand, but I mean the code practice oscillator now.
That's next.
I want to make sure he got full credit for that.
No, absolutely.
We help, but that club does it.
Okay, we're doing the code key oscillators now?
Yeah.
Okay. These are the commemorative from last year's youth forum donated by Charles Kermis.
We'll start off with the kits, with the soldering iron and the parts. These are collector items. So
Yeah,
don't
some
even
of them are in
assemble
kit form.
Like Heath kit.
Again, these are not being sold. This is if you make a donation to the RCA youth activities, but Charles is donating 10 of them as door prizes. So let's do half and half, I guess. Five youth and 5 adults.
The kits all go for the kids.
Oh, kids are all for the
kids.
kids.
And then half.
Okay. All right, Charles, why don't you help me start picking?
Okay, good. Number.
You got a nice loud voice, so
Ethan
read
Bull.
off the name.
No call, but a phone number.
Oh, very good. Remember, keep this for 50 years and then sell it. You'll make a lot of money. It's unassembled.
Zachariah Lee, WX4TVJ.
Adult supervision needed. That's a soldering iron. I have to make that warranty statement.
Matthew Spiker, KE8FGB. Another person who's not given the last name. Timothy, KE8EGE. Stephen Wilson, KT8SW.
There we go.
Theodore Robinson, no call. Okay, so now there'll be just the code practice oscillators. They're already assembled and ready to fly.
Okay, these are the CPOs. This is what I actually used for 30 years to 6th, 7th, and 8th graders.
Abby Helm or Heim.
Oh, Abby!
Phoenix James Jones.
Congratulations.
Ethan Newitt, KL3KJT, or KC3. Antoine Grace or Grain, telephone number. Another one of the Lee family, Hope Lee, KM4IPF.
Adults get them too. There we go.
Gary, another known last name, 80HA. James Randolph, NF8C. DX are here. Marcus Grosser, DL8GU. Ron Schwartz, N7CE. Ron Schwartz.
This will then go to a youth. Yeah, we'll go a youth. A youth? No, youth.
Andy Wansman, KE8EOB.
And one last adult. Sorry to confuse you, Ralph, though. Adults, yes. Oh, I don't know which one. You're the color.
Okay, Richard Marcus, no call.
It will be interesting to see how many of these no calls are going to report back to me with their call signs. Okay, that was it for the code keys. Whoever won that, enjoy that with my personal compliments. That served me very well in the school situation with young kids really enjoy using that, so enjoy them. Okay, I would like, since we're still lucky enough to have Tim here, I'd like to show you now to the young presenters what RCA, besides featuring all of these young people, is donating. Okay, but I want to give out the RCA list. Okay, so Tim, Charles, and Stan. Tim, could you give Tim one of the certificates to hold up so that the audience can see what they will be getting? This is what RCA is donating to each of the young achievers who's up here. That's the beautiful RCA Young Achiever Certificate, again, which looks mighty good on college application forms, I am told. And each one of them will get that, along with a stipend check, which has been donated via RCA through Charles Kermis. And every presenter here will be getting one of those. So I'm going to try to call them up in alphabetical order because that's how the checks and the certificates are arranged. And I'll leave that to you guys. And we want you to take these checks and go out and Hamvention, spend it, and have a good time with the kids. This is money you earned. So the checks you. Okay, we have Seamus Monty. Thomas Cholkakov. Tucker Dunham. Violetta Latham. Mason Matrazo. Sujay Oja. Bryant Raskol. And Matthew Spiker. And let's have a big round of applause for these great kids. Thank you, Tim. Okay, now we still have more goodies to give away. Ralph, what's next on the agenda?
We've got 10 or 12.
Oh, let's do the ARR, let's do the ARRL certificates.
Okay.
These are $50 gift certificates. Just bring them right over to be redeemed at the ARRL booth.
How do you want to break them up?
One of each. Well, just let's give the adults some of these manuals. They'll pass it along to kids.
Greg Stoike, KN4CK. Tom Loney, AJ4XM.
Right over here. Good going, Tom. Tom's a good friend, too, of the youth activities.
Troy Bouty, AC8XP. Shalila P, KC9ZJG.
All right, that's another mom of one of our presenters.
Brooks Wilson, KD8XJ. Doug Holmes, VE3VS. Hari Reba, VU2SPZ.
Should have told you all to bring you, Voltra.
John Eggum, KE4EGG. John Eggum going once, going twice.
Not here.
I'll tell you something. He won something last year. Just got lost and he found it about 2 weeks ago and he sent me a thank you card.
Call another one.
Kevin Hopkins, KC2KFB. And a couple for the kids. Adeline Byrne.
Wait, ask her if she's married.
And Kelvin Parker. 93777. Well, I guess all that's left is the 7200.
Oh, okay. All right, so we now have the biggie, the ICOM 7200 rig. And as I promised, because you once again fulfilled your obligation as being my love audience for all the tremendous support during this forum as well. So this is for an adult.
And
Okay.
all these tickets are going back in, so everyone has a chance.
We're putting all the winning tickets back in. Ralph will shake it all up. And hold it. I'm going to let my guest, Mr. Surrey, from the National Institute of Amateur Radio in Hyderabad, India, come and pick the winner.
Harry Reba, BU2SB.
Mr. Surrey, hold your hands up. Every year we say there is karma at the youth forum. Mr. Surrey has escorted and supported young people to be at this youth forum through the years. That is amazing. It was won by an adult, but we all know where it's going. Drew, raise your hand. Okay, now is that the last prize over there? Yes? Okay then. Kids, line up over there if you want one more opportunity to take the group picture of the 2018 Youth Forum presenters. You've been a fabulous audience as always. We look forward to seeing you next year for the 32nd Annual Youth Forum. Thank you so much, everybody.
What's up, buddy? How's it going, buddy? Good to see you again? Not for sure.
I'm gonna get
Not for sure.
He's
I know.